out there. Yeah! Oilfield's back, baby. What's up, boss man? What do you mean, what am I doing, boss man? You sent me that text, you said we was about to go work in the oil field.
Oilfield? The heck you talking about, brother? You better read that text message again.
Look, don't be messing with me. You know I've been waiting for this moment for my whole life. Don't be messing with me, boss man.
I'll tell you what, Lieutenant. You better go back and read that text again. I said we was going to talk about the oil field. We had a lot of questions about our experience out there, or my experience. You've never been there, so I don't know if you'd make it in the oil field or not. Get back in that truck.
Man, boss, you ain't nothing but a daggum dream killer. Straight up dream killer. What the heck, man?
Yep, we got that fertilizer to haul, so you better get back in that truck. We got to go get that load.
Well, I guess we're stuck hauling this daggum fertilizer. Can't do nothing fun around this son of a bitch.
Good morning, guys. Welcome back to 806 Driver. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been with us for a while, y'all, welcome back. Hope everybody's doing good this morning. We are here and right on the state line of Wheeler County and Hemphill County off of US 83 up here in the eastern Texas Panhandle. This, as you can see behind me here, we have a tank battery. This is the heart of Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, oilfield country. The main epicenter of the action up here in this part of the world is just off to the south and east of us here. Man, I spent a lot of time out here, guys. A lot of time. I've had a few TikToks up talking about the oil field here in the last few days, and I've received a lot of comments and whatnot, just kind of wondering about my oil field experience. And I know I've talked about it before on the channel here, you know, just kind of touched on it, never really got into it a whole lot. But I figured I might, since I was rolling through this part of the country today again up here, I thought I might stop and we would talk about it just a little bit and kind of give y'all a rundown of what's going on. It's getting kind of windy out here. I don't know how that's going to affect the camera here, the sound. I really wanted to do this outside here and do more of a vlog type video today, but we might end up getting back in the truck here. It's a little chilly, of course. It's middle of November. It's supposed to be. We're up here at the top of Texas. Said we got a tank battery back behind us. This used to be a Forest Oil tank battery. I don't know who owns it now. A lot of these leases up here have bought and sold several times. I'm gonna put the drone up in the air and let y'all get a bird's eye view of kind of all the, there goes crude oil hauler right there. But let y'all kind of get a bird's eye view of what's going on here. There is still some work up here. It's just not near what it was in the past. This place was as busy at one time. This place was just as busy as it is down in Midland, Odessa, down in the Permian Basin, but has since kind of played out. But I'll tell you what, we're going to jump back up in the truck here where I can talk and have some little bit of quiet and gather my thoughts a little bit, and we'll catch up with y'all here in just a second. All right, guys, back up here in the truck. Put the GoPro over here on the passenger door here. I'm gonna let it kind of look out the window here, catch some of the oil field traffic maybe coming by. Been a few trucks come by so far, so maybe I can get some shout outs or whatever if I see something go by that I know. Let me plug the power cord into it, keep that battery charged. All right, got the power cord plugged in there. Yeah, guys, so a little backstory. I got out of the Army in May of 2002. Upon exiting the Army, I came back home and I went to college for the first semester of the fall semester of 2002. And of course, Miss 806 got pregnant with 806 Jr., old Christian, Bubba. And so I had to come back to work. And so I kind of quit college, come back to work, and my first real job after the Army, I guess, since once I got out of school, was I went to work for Coca-Cola. And at Coca-Cola, I was a merchandiser, and I drove a bulk truck for them out of Lubbock over to the area around Memphis and Childress and that area. So I did that for about a year. And then I stumbled upon a job with Frito-Lay running a chip route in the same area where I'm from, right there. Well, I did that for about a year as well, and man, that was a lot of hard work and for little pay. Here comes a crude oil hauler right here, y'all. Matter of fact, I even know who that one is. That is old Monkey, works for East Texas Crude out of Wheeler. I used to work for East Texas, and he's the only one that's got that W9 Kenworth like that, little day cab like that. But anyway, back to the story. I did that for about a year as well, and didn't work out real good because I had the largest route with the least amount of revenue in the whole Texas Panhandle. In other words, I had to drive further than anybody, and my stores were so small and the revenue was so small that it just, man, you had to work your tail off to make any money. You made $80 a week there and 10% commission. So if I sold $5,000 worth of product that week, I made $580. I mean, and man, I work a lot of hours. So then the opportunity came up for me to go back to work for TDCJ, which I worked for TDCJ prior to joining the Army, right after graduating high school. And TDCJ is the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. It's the prison system for the state of Texas. So I went down to Childress, and I went to work there in the warehouse as a warehouse supervisor / shuttle truck driver. There goes some Green New Deal stuff right there, y'all. But but anyway, and I did that for about, hold on, GoPro did something funny there. Alright guys, I don't know what happened there. Typical GoPro crap. GoPros, they got a mind of their own sometimes. It just shut off, quit recording there. So, but I lost y'all talking about the state of Texas, TDCJ. Was working there as a warehouse supervisor and did that for about 2 years. Great job. It was a real good job. Of course, anything you guys know with a state job, you know, you always got really good benefits. Just a lot of times the pay isn't real good. So, hell, I was only making about $1,600 a month gross. So, $1,200 a month take home. They paid you once a month. Me and Miss 806 both actually worked out there. She worked in the education department out there as a secretary. And, well, one weekend we were at my grandpa's eating, hanging out, and he knew I was struggling. You know, we was kind of struggling, you know, to make it on what little money we were making. And he told me, you know, hey man, why don't you come over here to the oil field with me and go haul some of this salt water. Comes another crude oil hauler right here, y'all. But he said, come over here and make some of this real money, you know. He said, hell, he got to asking me what I made, and I told him, you know, and he said, well, hell, you can come over here and dang near making a week what you make in a month doing what you're doing there. So, you know, so I went ahead and put in my notice, and I came over here to work. First right out of the box, I went to work for a company which my grandpa was working at. Hell, he was 70 years old doing it too, y'all. So, or in his mid-70s. But, first right out of the box, I came over here to work for Sooner Trucking. It was a company that hauled lease water, salt water. So that's kind of where I broke out in the oil field, and came and started hauling salt water, and then I kind of moved into running a winch truck. I kind of moved up pretty fast with these folks. with my military experience and my management experience and all that, I kind of fit in. I was there for like 2 weeks, and they already had me helping dispatch on the weekends when the main dispatcher was gone. Then I did that for about 6 months there, and then I moved into the shop. The mechanics there, the main mechanic, well, when I'd come in and I'd have a light out or something messed up on my truck or whatever, they were always snowed under and stuff, and I'd tell them, hey man, come borrow tools, I'll fix my flat, or do this, do that, whatever. Well, the main mechanic got to know, so he said, hey man, how you know how to do all this stuff? I said, well, I just kind of grew up around it. And, you know, in the Army, I did a lot of it and whatnot. So he said, hey, man, you want to come help us out in the shop? And so that's what I did. I started helping out in the shop. And I worked with that company there till about, I want to say it was about 2009. I stayed there for about 3 years. That company bought and sold 3 times between then and there. It was Sooner Trucking. Then went to Diamondback Energy, bought them out. Then Total Oilfield Service bought them out. And that's what it was when I left. Actually, the company also had a construction side to it too, where they built these oilfield locations and filled pits and built these roads out here, these lease roads and all that. Well, they decided to get rid of that construction side of it. And well, when the guy that was over the construction side left, I used to take care of a lot of their equipment in the shop. And they kind of all got laid off at the same time. And another company out of Elk City, Oklahoma called TAW picked them up. And he asked me to come with them to be a mechanic / haul truck driver / operator. I kind of did everything. I was a jack of all trades for this guy. I serviced all our equipment. When I didn't have nothing to do, I'd be on the dozer filling these reserve pits at the edge of the locations out here. And I also moved equipment around. Did the heavy haul truck, moving dozers and blades and excavators and everything we had, moving it from location to location. So, and I did that in 2009 and 10. It was pretty rough right in through there. Everybody knows in 2008 what happened to the economy. Everything went to crap. But I kind of got saved, and the oil field did take a hit there for a little while, and a lot of people did get laid off out here. But I happened to make it through, because when it did get slow out here, we were still filling a lot of these reserve pits that were left on these new wells out here. And what it is, a reserve pit, that's where they put when they're drilling, all the crap that comes up out of the ground with the mud and the returns and everything go into that pit. And they let that pit sit for about a year after they're done drilling, and that well's online and everything else, and it dries up. Well, we got to come back and cover it, backfill it. So we had a lot of that to do. And about the time we started running out of those was about the time 2010 rolled around, and the directional drilling craze came in. And man, it got crazy up here then, y'all. That's when the fun really began up here. And that's when the price of crude oil went crazy, and it was just, man, it was a mad dash up here. But and I ended up quitting there at the TAW place, and just kind of got a little sideways with the boss man. And great guy, just one of them difference of opinion deals. And I went back to work for Total, which was then, they were still, they were called Superior Well Services by then. They'd done been bought out again. And I worked there right up just for 6 or 8 months. And I went and got my hazmat license. And I was getting really interested in the crude oil hauling side, because the directional drilling, see, 06 to 2010, mostly everything they were drilling up here in this area were gas wells. And they made a little oil, actually made condensate, which is a higher gravity oil. We'll get into all that particular type stuff on another video. But I got into and most of these wells just made natural gas, and would have condensate come back with them, a little bit of high gravity crude oil. And but once the directional kick happened over here, Well, a lot of these wells started making a lot of little bit lower grade, lower gravity oil, you know, in the 40s, and a little heavier oil. And man, the crude oil game came into effect up here, and came into effect a big way. So I went and got my hazmat, and I sat on it for a while, and I ended up going to work for East Tex, the company I told you, old monkey, they got a monkey drove by a while ago. I did that for about a year, and matter of fact, here's a video of the yard. I just went by it a while ago, and I took a little video when I went by. All right, so that's where I worked out of there. That's just south of Wheeler, Texas here, around between Wheeler and Shamrock, Texas. And I did that. I worked there for about a year. Me and a buddy named Chris Llewellyn, we both went over there at the same time. And matter of fact, he still works there. He's been there ever since 2011. So, or 2010, November 2010, when we started there. Man, he's kind of stuck it out and done good. Got a hell of a 401k with him, and it's really slow there right now. He ain't getting a whole lot done, but I ended up staying there a year, getting my feet wet in the crude oil deal, and I ended up going back to Superior Well Services again. They needed a mechanic and a shop foreman, so I went back to work there. And actually, at this time, the company had been sold again, and they were called Neighbors Well Service, which anybody knows anything about Oilfield knows who Neighbors is. Nabors, Neighbors. So I went there, kind of took over the shop. It was in a disarray, and I got it back into shape. And I only stayed there for a brief stint for about 8 months, 9 months, getting it back into shape. I was really wanting to go back to hauling crude oil, and the money was just way better, you know. So I ended up going back to East Tex and working there for about another year, up until, when was it? I think it was January of 2012, I believe, is when I quit there. And they had actually opened a crude oil terminal down by my house in Childress, Texas, a company called Connect Transport. And I ended up quitting East Tex and going down there to work at Connect Transport. It's just a lot closer to, it's an 80-mile drive, guys, from my house in Memphis up here to the Wheeler County area. And we drove it every day. I mean, there's several of us from Memphis that worked up here. We would carpool. We'd work a 6 on, 2 off, whatever, and we would all carpool together. Now, when I was working at East Tex, they actually had a house there, a haunted house at that. That saved that for another time. But I would stay there a few nights a week, and because I didn't really have nobody carpool. But after water hauling at the saltwater deal, there were several of us from Memphis that worked there, including Uncle Adam, my father-in-law. My dad worked there on his days off from the prison, because he worked 4 on, 4 off at the prison. So he'd work 4 days at the prison, and then on 3 of his 4 days off, he'd come over here and haul water. So we all carpooled back together. Man, it was long days, y'all. We'd wake up at 4 in the morning, drive over here. Our shifts were from 7 to 7. We usually get out of there at 7:30 or so, as long as everybody made it into the yard on time, and get home at 9 or 10 at night and do it again the next day. But man, the money was good. So, but yeah, I ended up going down to Connect Transport in Childress and hauling crude oil down there. I was there for about a month, and that's where I met Bill Murray. A lot of y'all know Bill Murray from the video where we were moving the dry vans from El Reno back over here to Sayre a few months back. And y'all, everybody's heard me talk about Bill a lot. He's one of my best friends now, and this is where I met him at. He was the yard manager there, down there at Childress, terminal manager. And he is the one that's trying to talk me into going to Utah right now. He just took over a crude division for a company called Big Star up in Utah. And he's trying his damnedest to get me to go to work out there right now, but I just can't see myself going off to Utah. Beautiful out there, but for the money, it's not really worth it. And things are about to kick back off right here in this area, I think, and the money's gonna be the same, if not better, and it's right here at the house. So I just really don't see myself going way off to do that. About the farthest I would go back off to do some oil field work or whatever would be down to Midland, Odessa, or right here in this area. So anyway, I went to work there at Connect Transport, got to know him. He found out I was a mechanic too, so I ended up getting out of a truck, and I was taking care of our trucks there at Childress. We had like 13 trucks there. I was taking care of them, doing the services, doing brakes, tires, everything. And then I got in really good with the regional manager, and then the owner of the company came down to visit with me, and they ended up putting me in charge of the whole fleet on their maintenance side. I was pretty much the maintenance supervisor for the whole company, and that was a big new opportunity for me. We had a yard in Childress, Texas. We had a yard in Elk City, Oklahoma, El Reno, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City. Trying to think of what the name of that town was up north of Oklahoma City. We had another big yard there. It was a NGL terminal. We had crude oil trucks, and we had hard seals that hauled liquefied, propane, pretty much, let's say natural gas. So, man, what was the name of that daggum town? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyway, then we had another big yard down in Velma, Oklahoma, around Duncan. Then down at San Antonio, Texas, we had a yard. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And over in trying to remember Mississippi, we had a small yard in Mississippi too, but I was in charge of all those yards and the maintenance and the mechanics at all those yards, and I kind of just spent all the time just going around checking on guys and checking on what they needed, and setting up service schedules, and dealing with setting up our parts for our vendors, who we got our parts from, doing POs, and taking care of our warranty stuff. It was a big game changer for me, and I got a lot of good experience in doing that. So I worked there for a little over 2 years doing that, and then if you know anything about the oil field, at the end of 14, beginning of 15, we had another big slowdown. Price of oil fell. There was a lot of it was simple supply and demand. We had oil coming out of our ears, and there was a low demand, so the price got drove down. So I ended up Bill ended up quitting there at Connect, and then I followed him down to Monahans, Texas, to an oil reclamation company. It was called what was the name of that company? Lakewood Transportation. And what they did is they took these old tank bottoms, the nasty stuff off the bottom of these oil tanks, and what they would do with it was just a bunch of mud, but it had good oil in it. They would heat that stuff up and clean it and get the good oil out and get rid of and they would sell the oil. So I went down there. I was just working as a mechanic there, and that's when I ended up buying my own truck, and things were starting to pick up again there in the middle of 15, and I was planning on putting my truck, my own personal truck, on hauling crude oil. Well, everything was still going real slow, and they were not hiring third-party trucks to come haul crude oil. Everybody was just using their own, the big companies like Plains and East Tex and all the big players out there. They just were not using third parties yet, guys. So I ended up getting my truck together, and I took a hiatus from the oil field there in 2015 and 16, and I ran my truck, my own truck, doing the work that I'm doing now. This fertilizer, cottonseed, peanuts. Ended up doing that for 2 years. Then I ended up selling my truck at the end of 16, first of 17, and I came back to the oil field. I went back over to Sweetwater, Oklahoma, back to the original yard, original stomping grounds, which had changed from Neighbors Well Service to C&J Energy Service. And I worked there for about a year, and then I got another opportunity with these guys right here. Probably the best oil field job I ever had. And got a buddy from home. He had been trying to talk me for years into going down there to work for these guys. And I took a mechanic job down there in Pecos, Texas, at a little satellite yard they had there. And I worked there for about 5-6 months at Pecos, getting that yard up to in shape. And then they ended up moving me to the main yard in Midland and put me in charge of the whole maintenance program there. They had 3 yards. They had a big yard in Midland. They had a kind of a satellite yard in Jal, New Mexico, and a satellite yard in Pecos there. And about 6 months in, after that, Swiftwater here sold out to Tetra. And Swiftwater was a mom and pop company. Good friend of mine, actually married to my wife's cousin. He was a manager there from back when they started with 10 employees. And this guy, his name was Hunter Morris, had built that company up. And it was his company, and ended up selling it for I don't know, a shit ton of money or whatever to Tetra. Tetra is a huge company. And what this company did, they did water transfer, and which was kind of new to me. I never worked for a water transfer company before. But what water transfer does, they supply water out of frac pits. Here's a picture of a frac pit. They supplied water to drilling rigs while they were drilling, or after the rig would leave and they would go and frack the well. They supplied water for the frack, and which is a big industry right there, supplying that water to them guys. You know, they'd use 8, 10, 12-inch lay flat line, and big money in that, I guess, as far as I know. But when I first started there in Midland, I had 6 mechanics and 3 welders worked out there. Then I had a mechanic in Pecos and a mechanic in Jal. Well, after Tetra bought us, we pretty much like tripled in size with the equipment we gained. And when it was all said and done, I had about 30 mechanics and 10 welders and about, I don't know, over 2,000 pieces of equipment to take care of. And man, I tell you what, guys, my phone never quit ringing. I never slept for more than 2 hours at night. It got a little better after I got me some good foremans hired, but man, it was a hell of a rat race, and I should have stuck it out. Main reason I quit that job, I wanted to come back home. I was in Midland. I was 4 hours from the house. I would come home about every 3rd weekend. Miss 806 and my kids would come down and see me on one of the other weekends, and then one weekend I was usually just down there by myself because I had to work. And 806 during Bubba was just getting into high school, and it was football games, basketball games, track meets, all that. I did not want to miss that stuff, and so that was pretty much the main reason I came back home. And when I came back home, I just went to work for B&B Trucking there at home, and that's where most of you know me from. That's it wasn't much after that I started doing the YouTube thing, and with La Flama Blanca, the red and white Pete, you know, and started this whole deal. So you know, the Oilfield is always calling my name. It seems like I still got a lot of friends, a lot of family that still works in the Oilfield, and they are always there's always opportunities, y'all. But and I'm 45 years old. I don't know. You know, most people already got it figured out what their whole life agenda is by now. And me, I've always been a bit of a gypsy. I've never really planned for the future. I just kind of lived for today and made sure my kids got fed and our bills got paid and everybody's doing good. And by no means have I done bad for myself. I just don't have much of a future anywhere. You know, with what I'm doing here, this is just a small, you know, Ronnie one day say, fuck it, I'm shutting down, selling all my shit, you know, and here I am. You know, well, let's go see what we're going to do next. So I got to really start thinking about my future, especially as old as I am, and with the instability of the economy right now being as crazy as it is. Got to figure out what I really want to do. I really want to buy my own truck again and get back and go to working for myself one of these days. Ronnie and I have talked about some opportunities here too, about maybe me buying some trailers, and then, you know, I get a bigger percentage off of when we use my trailers or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of, I just don't know. I don't know what to do. Right now I'm just winging it, and with the economy, I do not want to make any drastic decisions right now. Trucks are way overpriced. Right now is not time to go buy a truck. A truck that cost $30,000 last year now costs $60,000 this year, due to the fact there's no new trucks on the market. Same way with like cars and pickups and everything else. There's no chips. You can't get parts for them. So everybody is holding on to their stuff, and if you are able to buy something, the prices are way over exaggerated. So it's not even worth jacking with. But anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Just giving y'all kind of a brief rundown of my oil field experience. I didn't go into depth with anything, but I appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to leave us a like. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I hope everybody has a good day. I'm going to fly the drone around here a little bit and get some shots, and before the wind gets up too bad. And we'll catch y'all on the next. Like we always say here on 806 Driver, keep the shiny side up, hammer down, support your veterans, law enforcement, first responders, and you know, just go out there and do good for your community, and just let's try to pick this place back up and make it what it used to be. It's a weird deal going on right now, y'all. So, but I do appreciate it, and I appreciate all the support. And hit that like button. Leave me a comment. If there's anything you'd like to know about the oil field, let me know. I might do a live one night, and we'll just talk about the oil field, and I can do some Q&A or whatever on that. So. But I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see y'all on the next.
Yo, this a vibe. I'ma have to play it one time. Rolling down the block in the ride. Homie, no stress, just peace in the mind. Maybe some cranberry juice on the side, like that homie from Tik Tok, headed to the tip top. Yo, if you're watching this, thank you for the pit stop. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the love. To the people always sharing my stuff. Now kick back, ride, and enjoy the vibes, yeah.